I'm Juliette Kang, a violinist and the first associate concertmaster of the Philadelphia Orchestra.
And I'm Tom Kraines. I play cello in the Daedalus Quartet, and I teach at the University of Pennsylvania and at Settlement Music School, and I'm also a composer. We're going to walk you through this duo that I wrote. It's the second piece that I ever completed, and the first piece that involves more than one instrument. Up till then, I'd only written solo cello pieces. I decided that since I knew a great violinist and could probably convince her to play my music, a violin-cello duo would be a good fit. I started some sketches while I was taking lessons with the composer Tom Benjamin at Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore, which is actually where I met Peter Sorotin and Ya-Ting Chang, the directors at Market Square Concerts.
We were asked to play a concert at a small series near Washington, D.C., and we were looking for music to fill out the program. There's actually not that much written for violin and cello. Add a piano or a viola, and there's plenty of repertoire. But for just the duo, well, there are masterpieces by Ravel and Kodai, a few other wonderful modern works from the 20th century, the 21st century hadn't started yet, and there are some other arrangements of pieces. So I told the concert presenter that my husband was working on a piece, and I knew if Tom had a deadline, he'd actually finish writing it.
And of course, she was right. Deadlines are the only way that I can ever finish anything. I don't think I realized while I was writing this piece how much an influence Ravel's sonata for violin and cello was. Here's the beginning of the Ravel. And this is how my piece starts. So, as you can hear, they both start with a rolling accompaniment joined by a melody after a couple of bars. In the Ravel, the violin has the accompaniment and the cello has the melody, and in my piece that's reversed. There's actually a lot of vocal music that starts this way with a sort of an introduction in the accompaniment, and I figure that's just a way of giving the singer a chance to find their pitch before they have to join in. But there are a couple of great chamber music works that start this way. The best example I can think of is Schubert's Quartet in A minor, which starts like this. Something like that.
Another example you might know is Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto.
So going back to my piece, the structure of the first movement is a pretty basic, straightforward A, B, A. So there's an A section, which is based around the melody that you just heard. And then there's a B section, which starts with the cello. So that goes on for a while, and then the A section returns. But when the A section returns, it's a little different. So actually, you could describe the structure more accurately as A, B, and then A prime, or a new kind of A. For one thing, it starts in a different key. reason I do that is partially because, as you can hear, I wanted the cello to have the melody this time instead of the violin, but if I had kept it in the same key as it was at the beginning, it would sound like this. So you can hear that the two parts then are in the same register, and it's kind of hard to distinguish them from each other. So instead of starting on a C, I started the accompaniment on the violin's lowest note, G. And that way I can also spend the next few phrases modulating back to the home key. Also in the A prime section, you'll hear bits of the B melody. This that shows up sort of interspersed in the A section, kind of like memories. There's one more thing to listen for in this movement. The meter, if maybe you've been able to hear, the meter is in 5/4, which is fun because it's asymmetrical. I usually divide the bar into 3 plus 2, which would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I could have done it 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't really do that much in this piece for some reason. Generally, the accompaniment, the part that Julie just played, stays pretty regularly in the meter, while the melodic parts kind of drift around it a bit. So now here's the whole movement from our performance at the Whitaker Center in January. second movement of my duo began life as a solo cello piece I was writing. I liked the melody, but I couldn't figure out where to go with it when it was done. It went like this. Once I started working on the duo, I realized, of course, that what was missing was a violin part. So actually what would happen is this. As you might hear, the cello and violin sound like they're moving in different tempos. For a while, the cello changes note every 5/8 notes, while the violin is moving in a 3/4 pattern, so it's every 6/8 notes. I don't keep this up for very long, but I like it. The voices influence each other, but are independent of each other. After this, the piece goes into some choral writing with both voices playing double stops, creating a thicker texture for contrast. It also becomes more impassioned and louder. This section also leads into some left-hand pizzicato, plucking the string with the left hand while still playing with the bow with the right arm. This gets quite fancy later on. There's a section coming up in which we're alternating left-hand pizzicati while playing a choral melody with the bow. And whenever we play it, I always remember the great producer Judy Sherman, who recorded us playing this piece, saying, "Shoot the composer," as we did take after take of the section. Here's what the first examples of left-hand pizzicato sound like.
This brings up two interesting things about string instruments. One, that they can sound so much the same as each other, and on the flip side, that they can make such distinct textures from each other. In this case, arco, playing with the bow, and pizzicato, plucking the string. The idea is that with just these two instruments, there's a melodic part, the arco, and a percussive part, pizzicato, sounding simultaneously.
The melody that we're moving toward in this section comes from an attempt I had made earlier to set the text of a poem called Well Water by Randall Jarrell. The first line of that poem is, "What a girl called the dailiness of life." I might like this movement the best of all three. It's the longest, which makes it feel a bit out of proportion with the rest of them. And for a while, I thought I needed to expand the outer movements so they'd be more similar in length to this one. But now I think it just works fine as it is. I guess I've gotten used to it. Here's the whole movement from that same performance. In the third movement, called Scherzo, quasi, presto, I was channeling the character of our dog Preston, who's gone now, but he was very much alive back then. When I was writing this piece, we had just adopted him. He was about 2 years old. Preston was a terrier mix. He was an energetic, independent, neurotic, impulsive dog. I think you can hear some of his flighty personality in the first few bars of the piece. There are a lot of places in this piece in which I tried to interlock the two parts, the violin and cello parts, so that the melodic lines would pass imperceptibly from one to the other. It's a trick that I picked up from the Ravel Sonata that we played a bit of before. Here's an excerpt from the last movement of Ravel's Sonata, played way under tempo. There are two melodies to listen for. One is this, and the other melody goes like this. And this is how Ravel puts the two together. And here's a bit of the last movement of my piece, also a little under tempo. In both cases, the melodies are pretty weird, which makes them a bit hard to follow, but I hope you can hear how Julie and I exchange lines in the middle of the melody. The structure of the movement is almost exactly like the first. It's an A, B, A prime form, where the return to the A section is altered by material from the B section. The theme of the A section is what you heard. It's sort of an altered version of the beginning of Shostakovich's third quartet, but I hope it's not too recognizable. This is how the Shostakovich starts. And then, as you might remember, this is how the theme of my movement. The B section represents Preston the dog rubbing his back on the floor, which he liked to do a lot. There's a 4-note sequence, F, A, D sharp, B, and it's played with a half-step trill. And it starts out really, really slow, so each note will last several bars, and then over the course of this section, it'll get faster and faster until each note just takes one beat. Along with that, the other voice provides this weird whining sound.
As you can hear, we're using some different techniques here. Glissando, meaning sliding from pitch to pitch rather than changing fingers. And sul ponticello, which means playing very close to the bridge with the bow.
Those whining sounds come back in the return to the A section, the A prime section, which, at least for me, makes it really difficult to play. Here's the whole last movement. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed the piece, and maybe some of you will be inspired to write your own music if you haven't already. And also, I hope to see you someday at a live chamber music concert. Bye-bye.